Oh, man, I love the game of golf. It was a beautiful day out here today, wasn't it, baby girl? You didn't think it was a nice day today?
Well, I am sweating all over, so no, I didn't really think it was.
Well, I mean, you got to drive the car. You got to drive the car, and it did have the hood on it, so it kept the sun off of you.
Yeah, but it had no air conditioning.
Well, okay, fair enough. So, we're going to get something to eat, right?
Of course.
Cool.
And you're obviously paying, right?
Always. Always. Man, golf is a fun sport. Hey, I drove the ball pretty well today, don't you think?
Pretty well to the far right, yeah.
But, okay, even though I went right, my iron game was really good, and I was able to fight my way out of that.
Yeah, but you hit it into the sand, and you did that quite often, might I add.
Even when I went in the sand, my chip was really tight, so I was able to get out of there and get close to the flag.
After 3 times.
You have to admit, though, my putting game was really good, and it saved me a lot of the times from all of the bad hits I had out in the fairway.
And it only took you 11 holes. Listen, until you get a good golfing game, I'm going to keep giving you shit.
I'm improving. I mean, since I've gotten started, haven't I got a lot better?
Yes, you've gotten better since your injury.
We don't have to talk about my shoulder, but I mean, that's another reason why it's coming along slowly, but, you know, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it.
Sure.
Hey, baby girl, I'm about to go hop in the shower. When I get out, we'll head out to the volleyball tournament, okay?
Okay. Oh, can I use my the computer?
Oh, yeah, of course, baby. Of course. Hey, baby girl.
Yeah.
Repetition breeds familiarity.
Familiarity breeds comfort. Comfort breeds complacency or success. We're going for the latter rather than the former.
All right, good deal. Handle business.
Okay.
Hey, remember you're a beast out there. Act like it.
I will.
All right.
Let me see what he got in these emails. Spam. Overdue bills. Not surprised. Fuck the police coming straight from the underground. Young nigga got it bad 'cause he's broke. What is this? Sarah? Linda? Becky? Amber? Amy? Molly? Ginger? Heather? Karen? Oh, hell no. We are not having this. No, I don't want no Pancake Tuesdays. Oh, God, delete. No, I do not want your lemon bars, Karen. Oh, my dad's gonna get...
Do you have strong opinions and you're looking for a way to express them? Are you tired of carbon copy sports radio that infests the airwaves? Do you have creative concepts and ideas that you want to share with the world? Then this is not the commercial for you. This commercial is all about
Kinko's University.
That's right. Kinko's University gets you prepared for the podcasting world when you don't have the chops for it. If you're one of the many people looking to get into podcasting, but you just don't have the skill, Kinko's University is the university for you.
I want to do a podcast, but where do I start? And what do I talk about? Kinko's University.
Don't worry, here at Kinko's University, the first thing we teach you about is OPP. That's right, other people's perspective. So you can always have something to talk about getting it from another source.
Podcasting looks fun, but do I really have to do all that research and show prep? Kinko's University.
Absolutely not. Here at Kinko's, we have classes like No Preparation 101, where we teach you to get around all of that pesky show prep because we know you don't have the time.
I wonder what the best time slot is to get the most listeners. Kinko's University.
Don't worry, here at Kinko's, we have a class called Recycling Ideas 101, where you can find a time slot that works and just jump in that slot to try to make it happen for yourself.
Kinko's University. I want to come up with new content and subject matter, but I'm not that creative.
Kinko's University.
You'll also take Regurgitation 101, which will help you come up with other people's subject matter that you can recycle and make your own. That's right, here at Kinko's, we teach you how to get around hard work, getting new wrinkles in your brain, and having to work hard at your craft. Come to Kinko's, where you can take these top courses with top teachers. Most people that go to Kinko's graduate with Kinko's degrees, that's right, as master copiers. Kinko's University, for the skilled impaired.
Kinko's University is not a real university and is not accredited. You don't actually learn any skills. You just learn how to mimic people who have actual skill.
Underground Railroad Show with that ninja. All aboard, have your tickets ready because the train has arrived. Delayed or on time, it's time to get on board.
What's going on, fam? This is the Underground Railroad Show hosted by your boy, That Ninja. Thank you for coming aboard. Hope you are enjoying the ride thus far. I apologize for yesterday. I apologize for yesterday. I was going to send a text out to let y'all know I wasn't going to do a show, but I got busy, and by the time I wasn't busy, it was good and late. So I apologize for the lack of notification upon yesterday. Could not get the show off, and I actually didn't get back to y'all about that. So I apologize for that. Thank you for coming aboard and rolling with me. Technically not a Militant Monday, but you know the gist of it. We are 1 week out from two things. And I actually still need to make a couple of calls on this. And I'll get into the title of today's show in 1 second. But a couple of things for next week. Obviously, this is hold on 1 second. Interesting. I apologize for that. I just noticed something, and I'm trying to see if I can do something about it. I think there's actually a... Let me check here. Hold on. Let's see. I apologize. I'm still getting used to this new platform. But it looks like I might... I apologize. That is... this chat room. I'm trying to make sure that it was giving me problems the other day. I think I'm good. Okay, I'll let it go. Let's make sure. Okay, I think we're good. All right, next week we have the annual show on religion. That'll be on Monday. I'll let you know if we have a change of date. But right now, it's still going to be Monday. The only thing that would change it from being on Monday is if I'm not able to secure the guests I want to secure. And I'm a little late with it, too, because I've been going back and forth with how I wanted to do it.
So if I can get it set up the way I want to get it set up, we're going to take care of it on Monday. The only thing that might change that is if what I'm trying to do can, only be done on a different. If what I want to do can only be done on a different day because of time schedule, there's a slight possibility I might shift it, but in all likelihood, I doubt it. I'm just going to go ahead and do it Monday either way. But I'd like to keep the same energy we've had for the last 4 years. The last 4 years, which is essentially having an opinion from both sides, so the conversation isn't so one-sided, or at least doesn't seem to be so one-sided. So I'm going to attempt to keep that flow going as far as the flow of that particular show. It's a lot better when it's not just us going back and forth. It's a lot better when it's not just us going back and forth, when there's at least the other side of the coin. I think it's been dubbed Team Halo. And I guess I've been dubbed the Heathen, but that's neither here nor there. But the Heathens versus Team Halo, and just having a basic discussion. It's been it's been fun actually every year, but it's really been nice the last 4 years when we've had that opposing view, like actually on the show with me, so we can actually have a little back and forth. So that part I've enjoyed. So hopefully I can keep that going. I'm just trying to find a way, or not find a way, but just trying to continue to be creative with that. Trying to, be creative and do something different every year if at all possible. Try not to be repetitive with that show, but have fun with that. And hopefully I can still secure somebody to, I guess for lack of a better term, have an opposing view. You want to call it that. But actually, one of the main things that we discovered is that it's not really opposing views. For the most part, there might be some differing opinions, might be some things you're going to differ on to a degree. There are going to be some points they're going to be, you're going to be staunch for some things the other person is going to disagree staunchly on, or, I can't see that, or I disagree with that for this reason, I believe that for this reason. But for the most part, there wasn't that much of a difference. There wasn't that much of a difference as far as the conversation. It wasn't as, what would you call it? It wasn't as confrontational as one might think. It was just a good discussion, which actually it's never been confrontational. Actually, if I'm going through the history of it, it's never been a confrontational situation in those shows. So it's always been a good conversation, and that's continued over the years. So we're going to continue with that. This coming up Monday, it'll be 5:00 sharp at the latest. And I'm going to continue to try to do better about that. My normal time is 5 Central, which would be 6 Eastern. And from this point forward, I should be okay. There have been a few things I've had to make adjustments on, which have compromised the time that I normally would start. But that should, or I believe that's been rectified to the point where I should be on a fairly regulated schedule at this point. Just had some things come up in the afternoon, some different things that I had to get done. So for that reason, just wasn't able to do, not able to do the show in the time slot that I wanted to. So I'll try to be more consistent. If I'm more consistent, when I'm coming on, so forth and so on. So I will attempt to be more consistent with my time slot and with the time that I start the show. Also next week, guaranteed 2 shows in that week, because it will be time also after Easter Sunday, the annual show on religion that Monday. We'll have the first round of the draft that Thursday. We'll have the first round of the draft that Thursday. And again, this will be the 10th annual show on religion. Draft-wise, I think this is the 8th draft show, no less than the 7th draft show. And we not generally, but we just cover the first round of the draft. For the most part, most of us, or a lot of people, are sitting around watching the first round anyway. After that, it becomes a tad bit tedious. But that first day, you get a fair amount of viewership. That first day, people, expectations are up. New year, something to look forward to, regardless of what your team did the previous year. If your team did well, then you're looking just to improve. So, you're looking to see what your team does in that first round. Some people are watching for the theatrics. And some of it's cool. Some of the interviews are good. Some of the things that they do. But, No, I'm just sour to the entire network at this point. So I'm pretty much watching for the nuts and bolts of it. I'm watching to see what team gets who, possibly listening, what that player might have to say. You'll see some of the highlights. You'll see, the camera panning where it pans. So I'm more or less interested to see how close I am as far as what I wanted the teams to do and what they actually did. That's one fun aspect of it. It's also cool to see teams that, you watched last year, you figured they were close or you thought they were good enough to win it all. They didn't get there. So in your mind, you should probably have something to the effect of, okay, I think this team needs that. Or I think this team needs that. Or I hope they get this player. Maybe you're just watching to see who the first pick is. Maybe you're interested in, I guess it's relevant. The ongoing conversation about who the first pick is going to be. The this player versus this player moniker that always goes out every year. So I guess this year, Shedeur or Cam Ward. Can't go wrong either way. Can't go wrong either way. I know I'd take one over the other. And that's not a knock on the other individual, but just from what I've seen and what that individual had to work with, I would take Cam Ward just for this reason. He's never. I know Shedeur played at Jacksonville State, but at Jack State, but he had talent at the wide receiver position at Colorado. Cam Ward has never really had. He's never had multiple top tier receivers. He's never had a top tier receiver, quite frankly. He's had people that have been productive. He's had people that have been the top receiver on his team, but Cam Ward has done all of this without any dogs, really. He really didn't have dogs like that. He didn't have he didn't have unguardable receivers that were just dominant, and he wasn't in a situation where receivers were going to make him look better. He made them look. I'm not going to say that because I hate that phrase. He didn't have people. He didn't have what Johnny Manziel had. He didn't have homie. Why can't I remember his name now? Evans. He's never had a Mike Evans in his entire collegiate career. That does a lot for you as a quarterback when you can just toss the ball up to the wide open dude down the field. And it opens it up for the other receivers. His top receiver might get to the NFL as a slot guy or a special teams guy or something like that. But nobody's looking at that cat as a top prospect. And I think when he ran the 40, it was something crazy. I think they said 4.8, 4.7 or something like that, which that has to be wrong. Maybe it was 4.6, but that's slow for an NFL receiver. But that's the only reason I take Cam Ward. And he's a little more fleet of foot. So because he's a little more fleet of foot, and I think he's done more with less, that's the only reason I take Cam Ward. But you can't go wrong either way. But just the point being that at best, I don't know. I get the debate. I'll just take Cam Ward for those reasons. He's done more with less. That's the main reason I take him. He's done more with less. So for that reason, I take Cam Ward. But there are multiple reasons why people watch the draft. I'm just interested in what teams are going to do, what direction they're going to go in, especially teams that I'm interested in watching, teams that were close. Be nice to see what the Super Bowl champs do. I mean, the year before, the Eagles had a great year previous. Yeah, actually they did. As far as the regular season, they had a great year. It ended poorly. I thought there was a lot of instability on the coaching staff. I don't think they necessarily, again, I'm not going to get into all that. I don't think they had the best OC in the world last year, but they stayed with them all year. And, they probably asked the quarterback what he wanted to do a little bit, because I saw some of the old plays they used to run, but a little instability on the coaching staff. They changed, I think, offensive and defensive coordinators in the middle of the year. That's a tad bit extreme. So that was that. And again, up until they were like 10-1 or something like that before they went off on a losing streak and lost like 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5 or something like that. So, I mean, that was a bad year to a degree. But point being that they didn't really have a bad team and they were able to add. They won the Super Bowl, had a pretty good team, able to add something to it. Did it again the next year when they lost in the first round to Tampa Bay, ironically. And, after winning the Super Bowl, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. And they're at the end of the first round, but, they're fairly open. They're fairly open. They can do whatever they want. They can just address need. They've lost a couple players here and there due to free agency. That makes sense. People are going to cash in, but it's going to be interesting. So next week we have the annual show on religion that Monday. That Thursday, I think been keeping it like right at 30 minutes before the draft because it goes for a while. You don't know how many teams are going to be theatric and have elongated waits and pretending like they're actually researching and all that bullshit. So it just depends. Sometimes the draft goes long. So for that reason, you kind of wait 30 minutes or so before because you just start too soon. Sometimes it goes so long, I can't finish the draft. That happened 1 year. So probably 30 minutes before the start of the draft, we'll kick off. And get ready to see what these teams do to re-up as the NFL finds a way to be in the forefront of the news once again in what should be the NBA's time, but I digress. Once again, thank you for coming aboard. I got you, Sluggo. Cal said I got you, sir. Early in the show, but Sluggo says, I'm sure the Falcons will have 5 or 6 opportunities to screw it up. Hashtag. They probably will, sir. They probably will. And again, have faith. Now, the Falcons. I'm interested in seeing what the Falcons are going to do because now y'all have Michael Penix at quarterback. And just for me, I said this before the season, I didn't think y'all had a bad team. I did think that you didn't have a real coach, and I couldn't speak on your skill position players or your quarterback really because I didn't believe in Arthur Smith at all. I thought him being a head coach was a joke. He rode the coattails of Derrick Henry. So I didn't think you were well coached. I thought y'all had a lot of good players, but I didn't think they were used properly. So I didn't have opinions on your skill players. But as soon as you got somebody semi-decent in Cousins and really more importantly, a better offensive coordinator and a better head coach than Raheem Morris, in my opinion, he has some things to improve on. There's some things I could critique last year, but such is life. Now, with a better head coach and a better OC, he was able to utilize the talent around him and do so with a limited quarterback for most of the season in Kirk Cousins. But once y'all put in Michael Penix and you saw what the offense could be, and you saw a man that every single time he had to make a play, he did it. Let me repeat that. Every time he had to make a play, when he finally got in the game, he did that shit. He didn't fail once to get his team in position to win. Not once. The only time the team lost is when the defense couldn't stop somebody and he didn't get an opportunity to get the ball back. But when it was time to make a drive to get the lead or tie it up, he did it every single time. In dramatic fashion, at least one of those games where I think he missed a throw to play before and came right back with a bullet. And if I'm not mistaken, if it wasn't fourth down, it was third down, but it was a clutch ass, had to have it play. And he made it happen, ironically, to Kyle Pitts. So Sluggo actually, and I wasn't thinking about it, but I think y'all might be okay. Now, for me, I would say pass rush. Y'all need pass rush for me. I would say pass rush. And I'm getting into it early, but I already have y'all down as either getting pass rush. I dare to say y'all don't need, I'd say pass rush. If we're talking about y'all's first round pick, pass rush. Best pass rusher on the board, unless you feel like you need to fortify your offensive line some more. Unless the top linebacker is available and you feel like you want him. I would go pass rush before I go secondary. Because I think it's more important to get to the quarterback and disrupt the play. And y'all have lacked that for years. So I would say pass rush. But I don't think y'all are that bad off. And y'all can get weapons later in the draft. As far as like if you want to grab another receiver, you can grab a free agent or a receiver later in the draft. But with what y'all have already, unless there's just somebody there you can't pass up on, I wouldn't do that with my first round pick. Pass rush. I get the best pass rusher available, and it would change fortunes. And I've been consistent on this. I believe you got to have both. But pass rush is very important because it makes your secondary look better, and no offense can function when you're in their face, especially these teams that have traditional quarterbacks that can't move. So for these teams that have traditional quarterbacks that can't move, that's what you want to do. Traditional quarterbacks that can't move, you disrupt them. You put them in a position to where they can't run a play because they can't even get their feet set. I think that's more valuable. I think that's a little more valuable. in my humble opinion. But looking forward to the draft next week. Oh, Sluggo was saying that I'm sure the Falcons will have 5 or 6 opportunities to screw it up.
The truth is for everybody, but everybody might not be for the truth.
Hopefully not, because I'm rooting for y'all, because I'm rooting for Michael Penix and Raheem Morris for that matter.
The truth is for everybody, but everybody might not be for the truth.
But I feel you, Sluggo. I feel you. And being a fan with what some of the things that being a fan with some of the things that y'all have done, I understand your take on that. I understand why you're hesitant. I understand why you're apprehensive. I get it. And you have every right to feel that way. If I was a Falcons fan, I'd feel that way, but I'd really feel good about Michael Penix and what I already knew he was from college, and then he came right out there and displayed it on the field. I believe, for me, I don't think it was a matter of, oh, they did such a good job of holding him back. No, that was a choice they made that I didn't think was the right choice. If you wanted to wait a few games, maybe. I'm of the belief that he could have been starting from the beginning. I think he was definitely a player that could have done that. I think he could have started from the beginning. And I think he just would have got better during the season. I won't draw any comparisons or say this player did that and all of that. I'm just saying I think if he would have been given the opportunity from the beginning of the season, the Falcons would have been better off. But I'm glad he did finally make his way in. And as you could tell by the expression on Kirk Cousins' face, he knew that was a problem. Everybody could probably see it in practice. I mean, we saw it in the preseason game. I was mad that they didn't play him anymore in the preseason. Just because I wanted to see him play some more. So after everybody got to look at him, you could try to justify it. But okay. And I guess I'm doing somewhat intros. Obviously, we got my man Sluggo on the train. Coming aboard the train with his traditional good evening.
Motherfucker.
Got my man JBJ on the train. Said, I'm down in the great Sunshine State. Ah. Nice, sir. Nice.
You hear you? I hear you.
Enjoy yourself, sir. Enjoy yourself. JBJ back in his don't know if he's in his hometown, but he's in his home state, the Sunshine State. The Sunshine State's going to come up at in 1 second, actually. But good deal, sir. Glad you're back back in the South for a hot second. And technically, you live in the where you live is the South, but is it really? Kind of, I guess, technically. Technically, you live in the South, but not really. As JB said, I'm down in the great Sunshine State.
God is good. God is good.
Enjoy yourself, sir. Enjoy yourself. The title of today's show is Bullying. The title of today's show is Bullying. As always, for general purpose, I'll give you the definition. The title of today's show is Bullying. Bullying is the repetitive or intentional hurting of one person or group by another person or group, where the relationship involves an imbalance of power. Once again, bullying is the repetitive, intentional hurting of one person or group by another person or group where the relationship involves an imbalance of power. Now, I've spoken about that word a lot on the train, and when I've spoken about that word, I've spoken about it in frustration because the only time it comes up is when it's being spoken about when they were talking about Asians being bullied or Jewish people being bullied. Very isolated situations, but they were speaking about these things like it was the norm. And I found it to be somewhat insulting for a multitude of reasons. And I like to talk about that and dig into that a little bit deeper in a little something that I like to call perception versus reality. Now, the term bullying, and I'll center this around the young man Carmelo Anthony in Frisco, Texas, who in self-defense found himself arrested after taking a young man's life in self-defense. Now, I'm not going to necessarily get into the details of that, but I will to a degree. But I'd like to talk about bullying. One of the things that he said he was dealing with, and one of the reasons he enacted self-defense. And again, in a state that allows you to walk around with pistols. But I digress. Let's just stay with what I'm talking about now, which is bullying. My frustration with that word, and when it always came up, because it never came up when dealing with black people. The only group of people in America, I think, that have a righteous claim to even talk about bullying. Now, everybody endures it to some degree, but that's just life. Having conflict with your peers is just life. Having opposition with your peers is just life. That happens from time to time. I won't get into these new forms of it, but I will say any type of bullying that, I won't even get into that. I won't even get into that. But I'm not speaking about it like bullying doesn't exist and it isn't a thing for everybody to a degree, but that is simply a part of life. Everybody gets bullied to some degree. One-on-one, social, interactive type of bullying. That's going to happen. Conflicts with your peers, especially in your youth when people are immature. If you look back on it, most of the time those individuals either just grew out of it or they ended up where you thought they'd end up. A lot of them, as I look back on it, people that attempted to behave in that manner, it's like a lot of them knew they weren't going to get much taller. I don't know if that's universal, but it seemed like a lot of bullies didn't get a lot of taller than, because the short people get tall real quick in school. So, they're bigger than everybody, and then everybody goes up past them because they're going to be short in life. It seemed like they knew that, so they said, let me get it in while I can. But, at any rate, that happens. That happens. But as the definition said, the repetitive or intentional hurting of one person or group by another person or group where the relationship involves an imbalance of power. I think when you're talking about this case, you can't really talk about it in a bubble. I understand that situation, and you can get into the minutiae and the details saying you don't know what happened or whatnot, but I can talk about other situations that are similar, and I can talk about a repetitive pattern, and I can talk about similar situations and different reactions, and I can talk about that without making up anything. So let's get into the fact that bullying is apparently a big thing. I see commercials about it all the time, very somber commercials. They're in black and white. Everybody's speaking softly. Some of them are crying. Some of them just looking to the camera and breathe real hard. Just all these things where they pretend they care about bullying, where it's a big deal. But in situations involving black people, I've noticed a lack of empathy when there's actual bullying going on. It's one thing to deal with the type of bullying I think everybody deals with, social bullying. What if you're being bullied by an entire country? Allow me to give case examples. And again, when discussing things like this, and the reason why I say this case can't be in a bubble, you have to speak about it and speak about it in context of what society this man is living in and what he's looking at and what in all likelihood he's dealing with. And I'll give you the details as to why I feel this way and the perspective that I'm coming from. But I think that when you talk about something like this, and if you're going to talk about bullying and you're going to be honest about it, and this is based on this presumption or appearance or narrative that is put out as if these individuals truly care about bullying. They're truly upset with it. You're going to get in because it comes up, and it's come up in a lot of these cow awards, the colonizer of the week. It's come up in a lot of these stories where the justification or the reason the individual is being slandered because they allegedly bullied somebody. The Stanford head coach is accused of bullying female staffers. He lost his job. Michael Smith, the light-skinned ninja for the 4-letter network, which I haven't watched in over a decade. When he was, I can't remember who the former player was, but I know he was an Eagle. I can't remember who it was exactly. I want to say Jeremiah Trotter or somebody like that, but I don't think it was him. maybe a linebacker or a D lineman. I'm almost certain about that. But there was some kind of disagreement that they had, and he accused that person of bullying or threatening, and that individual got fired. But bullying is supposed to be a serious thing. And I think when you discuss things in this country, when you discuss things concerning this term bullying, when you discuss that, I think you need to speak about it in a manner to where if somebody, let's just say if an alien showed up, and I'm not talking about somebody from another country. Let's say if an alien showed up and they could understand our language or whatever, if they were to hear somebody make a account of bullying or race relations in this country or an account of the country, they would need the real. It should read in a manner that if somebody was completely unaware of the history or unaware of the conditions in this country, they would understand it by reading what you wrote, or hearing what you're saying. But if you're describing it in a way where it comes off as some type of we issue or some type of issue where you don't give out the details and the person doesn't understand the dynamic, then I think you're doing yourself and anybody that's trying to actually understand what's going on a disservice. So you shouldn't leave out details. You shouldn't pretty it up. You should speak about it in a way where if somebody wasn't from here and they read it, they'd understand the conditions. And this is what I mean. In Florida, there was a black woman. I can't remember her name exactly. I apologize for that. She had just graduated college. I think she was not even really even out celebrating. She had just graduated college. I think waiting to get a job, something to that effect. Maybe had got a new job. Some type of road rage incident. White man got out of the car and was hitting on her door, trying to get in the door, attacking her, screaming at her as a man. And in a stand your ground state where Trayvon Martin was murdered and the assailant was let go because his father's a judge, and again, all he did was kill a ninja. Seems like a grown man bullying a kid that's minding his own business and then murdering him. Seems like that was something that would be something that pulls at the heartstrings of America, as we know it didn't. But this woman simply shot her gun in the air. She was arrested and put in jail for discharging a firearm in a stand your ground state where you can murder a damn black child. But if a grown man is attacking a black woman, a grown white man, by the way, attacking a black woman, she can't shoot in the air to get that grown ass white man away from her. Black teenager in a high school, female. Little police officer that works in the school. There's some type of disagreement, whatever excuse they want to use. I guess she said something to him that was so terrible, or he tried to grab her and she turned away, and I guess they call that assault. Body slammed a teenage girl onto the floor, assaulted her, and afterwards charged her with assault. They do little shit like that, charge her with assault, and if she doesn't charge him, then they let it go like it's some kind of... There's nothing that could have happened to where you need to grab a damn black child and throw her on the ground. But if you have a psychopath that has no empathy for that particular person, you can get away with that. That seems like bullying to me. But she got charged with resisting arrest and assaulting an officer. Grown-ass fucking man. This 13-year-old girl assaulted me, and I had to body slam her to the ground, put my weight on her, and use tactics to protect myself. I was in danger. But again, you shoot a gun in the air when a grown man's attacking you, they put you in jail. It's one thing to deal with bullying on an individual basis like everybody does. But how about being bullied by the system? How about being bullied by the country when they won't even acknowledge what's happening to you and give you all these other stories about other groups being bullied? Anti-Semitism and all this. I don't recall any mass shootings of Jewish people, any mass shootings of Asian people. Not here. Not as recent as Peyton Gendron and Ryan Palameter. That's a form of bullying when it won't be acknowledged, in my opinion. In Atlanta, not Atlanta, in Georgia. I forget this young man's name, but I'm going off of previous Cow Awards. The young man who was found rolled up in a mat. Young black child dead, rolled up in the mat, teenager at that high school. Allegedly, everybody knows who did it. The son of a sheriff or some shit, white kid. Believe bullying was involved in the situation, but he murdered that kid, from what we understand. And as far as I know, the feds had to even come in. They were just going to dismiss that shit and throw it away. The feds had to come in to even make any type of big deal of it. If I remember correctly, nothing happened to him last time I checked. So I'm not saying that bullying doesn't exist for everybody. It does. It's one thing to deal with individual conflicts or individual disagreements with your peers. That happens. That's life. You can't shield your children from life. They're going to have to deal with bullies. They're going to have to deal with people that don't like their ass. That's life, man. That's life. But they don't have to deal with they don't have to deal with being murdered by a police officer and having the news talk about how the person that got murdered was a bad person. Young white kid shot up a movie theater. He shot it up because he said he was being bullied. I think one of the things, he was a loner, didn't have friends, claimed bullying, which is something that these mass shooters usually claim most of the time. And the news is empathetic. When that cat shot up the movie theater, the picture in the news the next day, and the caption was, a math or science honors student, something, but they didn't call him a murderer. They didn't call him a psychopath. They were empathetic. They had a picture of him in a tuxedo. Said he was a math major, a science major, an honors student. After he shot up a damn movie theater, gave an empathetic view. Black child got murdered by a cop in the middle of the street. Young man. Cop stood over him as he died. Had an interview where he talked about it and he was smiling. And I want to say maybe a couple of weeks later, they said, well, there was weed in this system. He had some charges at one point in his life or some shit like that. There was a warrant, some shit like that. What the hell does that have to do with being murdered? The point in that is that the reason why I'm annoyed by bullying when it comes up is because they're never talking about us. And it's always some minor case. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but when I'm watching ninjas get murdered for absolutely no reason or having things happen to them and the system that's supposed to do something about it does nothing. When the same behavior that is, really lesser behavior, you're trying to protect yourself, you shoot in the air, you go to jail, you murder a kid, he was standing his ground. I just think there's empirical evidence that the average white person, you can't have a construct or an office or police officers or whatever's going on. You can't have a majority of them be white and expect any type of fair behavior. The problem is they're just not concerned with that. They don't want to admit that they see color or that they treat black people differently, or maybe they just enjoy doing it so they won't fix it. But it's not about a misunderstanding. It's just a group of people that are there's always going to be a problem if they're the ones that are policing this. You can't expect them to act right. You just can't. Because of the lack of action every time something happens towards black people, 2 different massacres in the last 2 or 3 years during the Biden administration. Ryan Palomita, Peyton Gendron, Buffalo, 10 elderly black people murdered. 3, maybe 5 killed in Jacksonville, Florida by Ryan Palomita, who was trying to get on the campus of an HBCU. 1 or 2 other cases where Caucasian individuals, early 20s most of the time, teenagers, multiple weapons and brass knuckles, all types of crazy shit, trying to get into an area populated by black people, specifically to kill black people. And you're talking to me about bullying concerning other people? Bullshit. Now, in this situation, and this is the Underground Railroad Show hosted by your boy, That Ninja. In this situation with Carmelo Anthony, I can't claim to know all of the details, but I can say that he lives in a city that's 51% white, like 26 or 30% Asian, and about 8% black. And when you're, what's the motherfucker's name that was it Rittenhouse? Crossed state lines with an illegal AR-15, murdered two white people, but they were marching in protest of the police, so that was cool. Again, these are things the country always does. If you want to talk about bullying, we're going to show you that it's okay for an underage, psychotic teenager and his bitch of a mother to drive across state lines with an illegally purchased assault rifle. He can murder two people, and when he goes to trial, the media will be empathetic or quiet. The judge will throw out the gun. He will get off and be smiling and laughing on TV and podcasts while getting money and being praised. When you're watching this happen over and over again, Trayvon Martin, you got Rittenhouse over it. Anybody that acts like a decent person gets put in jail or killed. You dare to protest against police murder? That instead of just firing the murderers, they cry. What do they cry? What's their bitch ass shit? Anti-police rhetoric? No, you murdered somebody and you're being held accountable. Stop defending the murderer, fire him, and people won't have anti-police rhetoric. Accountability is not anti-anything. Not being able to accept accountability is one of the characteristics of a psychopath, though. It is that. My point in saying that is that white people generally, especially if you're talking about school and you want to understand the situation of being bullied and feeling like he was threatened and having to deal with getting jumped on and dealing with bullying and things of this nature. The reason why the individual is so tough is because it's mostly him. If you lived enough life and been in these situations, you understand how that goes. Historically, that's when they're tough. He was very tough because he's in a situation where by the numbers alone, it's impossible for that school not to be majority Caucasian. And even if you have a decent amount of Asians, I mean, they have their culture. But if you're talking about in this country, they side with the whites. That's just keeping it simple, not to have a long-winded conversation about it, but just generally speaking. It's not like they're going to, at any rate, at any point. Point is, they're neutral at best. So I can see a situation where he's constantly having to deal with BS. Why else would you have a weapon? Because you feel like you need it. I don't think he really had a, you know what, I'm not going to speculate in that regard. But if you want to talk about bullying, it's amazing how it's not relevant in this situation. In Huntsville, many years ago, and I cannot remember this young man's name. This is trying to remember, was this an elementary school or a middle school? I think this was maybe middle, maybe elementary and middle. Right now, I can't remember the name of the school. I could look it up, but it's not really the point. But it happened in this city. Iranian kid. And I could be wrong about the specifics, but that's not the point. Iranian kid walks up behind a black kid who was at his locker and shoots him in the back of the head. When this story came on the news, after this black child was murdered by a kid that walked up behind him with a gun he got from his irresponsible parents' house and shot this kid in the back of the head with everything they could have talked about in this situation, you know what those motherfuckers said? He was bullied at the school. They tried to give him an excuse. They mentioned bullying because it was just a black kid that he killed. You think they would have mentioned bullying if that black kid walked up to him and shot him in the back of the fucking head? Was he being bullied when he did that shit? What is bullying? A couple of words here and there? Are you dealing with constant physical altercation? He put a bullet in the back of his head when nothing was happening to him. He wasn't being confronted. they eventually, him and I think his mom tried to flee back to their home country and shit, or her home country, and they got caught in Texas. So I think they both went to jail, but they depicted him in a sympathetic manner. After he murdered that kid, they mentioned bullying, and instead of talking about what happened to that kid and him getting the gun from his parents, all the ways they could have went, they went into anti-bullying and all of these things. You know, this happened because of bullying. We got to stop bullying. God damn, you're off for the murder that quick, huh? But in those situations, there was no empathy. They even mentioned bullying when this motherfucker used a gun on somebody that wasn't in his face at all. He just pulled out a gun. But in these situations where a woman can't even shoot a gun in there to defend herself, well, a black teenager can be found up, rolled up in in one of those mats you have in the gym. And they try to dismiss and throw away the case. Where 2 different massacres happened within the last 3 years, directly aimed at black people. When a situation in this city where an Iranian kid shoots a black kid in the back of the head, and they say that the black kid bullied him less than a week after, days after this happened, they're shitting on that kid after he was murdered. But again, this is what I mean by what about being bullied by the whole damn country? I named a lot of places: Alabama, Texas, Florida. But the behavior seems to be similar. So I've always been annoyed by this mainstream push to talk about bullying when you never talk about the people that actually deal with bullying in this country. This story is pretty well known. Actually, you don't see these things necessarily all the time, but I think most people know about the story. They've kind of had it in the news. Most people don't know who Peyton Gendron is. Most people don't know who Ryan Palameter is because it didn't make the news. It didn't pull at heartstrings. This isn't about celebrating somebody losing a child. It's about recognizing the situation. This kid watching all of these things happen, watching multiple people, the two black twins that were found on the mountain, and I forgot to prefix the story with something. The 2 twins that were found on that mountain shot to death. The volunteer firefighter took pictures, got arrested. They saying he's not a suspect at the moment. They tried to call that a murder suicide. They had plans to fly. They had tickets to fly to fucking Detroit or some shit or somewhere, like the same day or the next day. And they're on a mountain somewhere that they don't go to, shot to death. And they tried to call that a murder fucking suicide. That's bullying when your death means so little. I'm not even going to put forth the effort to find out what happened because I either did it or I really don't give a shit. Also, that story was one of the cows that we had. Dexter, my man Dexter Schneverett. This story he gave to me a while back, almost at the same time he gave me the story about the twins. Sorry about that, Dexter. You gave me that a while back. I think you actually gave it to me before Sluggo did. So thank you for that story, and thank you for this one as well. That's where I'm going with this one. I've had it for a while, just haven't had time to get to it. I empathize. I really don't want to get into all these disclaimers. I'm just going to keep this simple. And I'm doing this, and I gave all those examples because, generally speaking, I'm speaking about black people in this situation. I'm speaking about us because these are the situations where the justice isn't being served. Everybody else seems to be good, so I'm going to stick with the people who are having a hard time getting basic human rights and the same services that other people get. You can murder a teenager and get off, but if you shoot a gun in there to get a grown man off of you, you're arrested. Sandra Bland murdered by a bitch-ass cop that I still believe is walking around and breathing to this day. That's crazy. But in a situation where he's in a minority literally at this school, I can imagine the environment. In a situation where he even felt like he needed that, I can only imagine what he was going through. And in a situation in this country, and in a state where James Byrd was dragged by some crackers, and this shit did not happen back in the 50s. That was on the news, but they didn't. Again, when they're trying to tell you constantly the racism doesn't exist, it's hard to talk about those type of stories. But again, in the age of the internet, where you see all of these stories, you see these massacres, you see these texts saying, you've been chosen to be a slave, all of this shit. You see white people acting the ass and nothing happening. You see January 6th were the worst of the whites and the people that supported it threw a tantrum because they lost a fair election. Now, if you studied the history of the country, like I have, you know that they've always done that. Multiple massacres were kicked off because they lost a fair election. That's why they created the Electoral College, so they could rig it. Fair play has never been something that America's been big on. But in situations where a grown man can accost a teenager, murder him in the street, and claim self-defense. In a situation where a young man can watch what happens to anybody like him when they either defend themselves or when something happens to them and there's no investigation, when a cop kills them and nothing happens. We've seen multiple situations. There was one, as a matter of fact, there was another situation, another Kyle Ward. White kids, teenagers, just under teenager, almost, had a black kid that they had took somewhere they were supposed to be hanging out and having a good time. They were trying to drown this ninja. And then another black person came along and stopped them. They almost drowned them. The police said it was just horseplay. No big deal. Black kid spent the night over the white friend's house. The mother and the son killed that black kid, told his parents they didn't know what happened. He showed up dead somewhere. They didn't arrest him immediately. White man got out the car arguing with, I forget him. I think he might have been a former Buckeye. He played for the Saints. Shot and killed that black man in the street, stood over him, shot him again. Police sent him home that night. Bullying is when your life doesn't matter, and they show you that over and over again by their actions. And these simple-minded, psychotic motherfuckers watch this and say it's a green light to go after these people. And that's why you see these situations. And this is the type of environment you're going to foster when a group of people feel they have no other means and they don't have any expectation of fair treatment. Once again, bullying, the repetitive, intentional hurting of a person or group by another person or group where the relationship involves an imbalance of power. Terrible situation, but I think these type of situations and certain reactions are fostered by America and the lack of action. If you would just simply do your job and punish people that attack black people, a lot of the behavior would stop because they'd understand punishment is going to happen, and black people would have some type of faith that you don't have to take things into your own hands. So I think in situations like this, you have to speak about it like this is the society that we live in. You can't talk about it in a bubble as if everything is on the up and up. And as if everything, quite frankly, is level. You really have to consider the fact that there's empirical evidence that, quite frankly, if you want to talk about bullying, it's one thing to be bullied by, your peers, people around you, people at school, people at work. It's another thing to watch the country bully anybody that looks like you anytime something happens to them. The perception is that there's no excuse for that young man having a weapon in that situation and at that event. In reality, when you're watching the country bully anybody that looks like you and watching absolutely nothing happen to everybody that commits these horrendous acts, you have no choice but to take the law into your own hands because the law is not on your side. I truly appreciate everybody coming aboard. Let's take a ride. This is the Underground Railroad Show hosted by your boy, That Ninja. Once again, I apologize for yesterday, but we'll be on schedule from here on out for the foreseeable future. Update for those who did ask. Mom's is doing good with the recovery. It's it's surgery. So she's recovering, but thanks for asking. Everything's cool. From here on out, it's just gonna be, slow recovery when you're dealing with the foot. So, but mom's is good. So thanks for everybody that has asked, and I appreciate it. The entire subject of bullying was always annoying to me because every time it came up, it would always be over something that's light. And again, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'll give the same analogy that I always give. And I won't bother. I won't bother. But the bullying stuff, it's just, it's hard. I can say this. This is the best way for me to put it. It's hard to hear the bullying conversation when actual bullying is ignored when it concerns anybody that looks like me. It's barely acknowledged or it's explained away. But you see these minor cases of jokes or a couple of words said here and there, or the truth said that somebody doesn't want to hear. And it goes from bullying to being anti-Semitic because, when you're in charge of everything, you can make whatever narrative you want. So I just found it always annoying that the subject of bullying came up because it's insulting. It's insulting to hear it talked about when you can actually see what actual bullying is. So it's insulting. It's insulting. Got my man Truck D on the train. Thank you for coming aboard, sir. Hope you are enjoying the ride thus far. Sorry, excuse me for damn laughing at the chat. But I just want to be clear that I understand that bullying happens and it's a problem. I won't get into, I grew up having to deal with individuals. Everybody had somebody trying to be a bully or whatever. Emphasis on trying, but I think that's just a part of life. It's another thing to watch the country continue to bully you by, again, showing by their actions that they really don't give a damn. So that's an entire another ball game to deal with. But, it is what it is. Phone's blowing up, and I apologize for that. C's Underground Railroad Show. Where are we at here? 1 second. Now we're good. What am I missing? All right, let's see. My bad. Thanks for that, JBJ. Thanks for that. Recovery's gonna be the roughest part, but luckily, woman's tough as nails. But the recovery. Glad she got it out the way though. And forgive me for the pause. Getting the next thing together. All right, got that situated. All right, we got that together here. Where we at? Truck D hollered at me the other day on a wellness check. It might have been yesterday. No. It was it was yesterday. I told him I was going to do a show yesterday. Then I ended up not doing a show. So once again, I'm sorry, sir. But thanks for the wellness check, sir. Thanks for the wellness check. I really need to do better about that myself as far as which reminds me. Okay, I'll take care of that tomorrow. But yeah, I need to do better about that myself. But thank you for coming aboard, sir. Appreciate that. As JBJ said,
Amen, preacher.
Great open dialogue.
God damn anybody who doesn't glorify his work.
Yeah, well, that's one of my favorite sound bites. Thanks for the excuse to play it.
Amen, preacher. God damn anybody who doesn't glorify his work.
It's just annoying. But that's probably the reason I'm annoyed by it. I'm annoyed by most programming because it's hard to hear them speak about any of these subject matters when they won't acknowledge black black murder and they're clowning about words that were said about somebody that might have been true and they got a problem with it. Ooh. It's hard to hear that shit. It's impossible. Hey, mainstream media.
You rotten bugs! You're all garbage! All of you!
Seriously. All right, we have the Cow Wars on the agenda, but a couple of more things I want to get into first. And again, as I'm trying to get something in place. Boy, I miss my old board. I really do. I mean, this works. This works. But man, I miss my old board. This is easy to get to. Not a bad board. I wonder if they always ask you for little tips and whatnot after the show. I'll put that in there and see if they actually respond to that. See how proactive they are. Truck D said, yes, he's rolling the dice. Oh, no. Wait a minute. Oh, JBJ said, Truck, I see Tennessee said no to the Hawaiian when he tried to hold y'all hostage. Motherfuckers is selfish as fuck. I actually haven't even looked at the details on that. I was going to look in. I haven't even looked into the details on that. I did not look into the details on that. So what was it? Some type of was it some type of monetary disagreement? From what I understand, was it a monetary disagreement? Interesting. All right, let's get into it. That is interesting. All right, apologize for that. Let's go past that. That is interesting. Where the hell is that thing hiding? Huh. Okay, I apologize for that. That is interesting. Okay. Again, JBJ, I know that one's around, but just for some reason it eludes me right now. One of those situations where I probably hid it for myself in one of these folders, but that is interesting. And I see you've given me the details. After that, I got a couple of other little segments I want to get into. Couple other things I noticed, and a couple of things along football trades. Not necessarily trades, but there was one thing I read, and I don't know if that was said by. Yeah, it was said by him. Okay, no, it was around. I'm just blind. JBJ said, no, where we at? Truck, I see Tennessee said no to the Hawaiian when he tried to hold y'all hostage.
Motherfuckers is selfish as fuck. Motherfuckers is selfish as fuck.
Truck said, yeah, he's rolling the dice. Maybe he'll get what he wants, but not from Tennessee. Truck D said he basically wanted a raise. Oh. JBJ said Ninja the Hawaiian was locked in at 4 years, $8 million, and he tried to go back and renegotiate after he saw the Georgia quarterback Beck go to Miami and make $4 million per. You know what? And I'll be honest with you, along those lines, I understand because Beck was pure garbage. And I mean, not a mainstream because he is white. They talk about him like he's great. He sucked. If he was a Ninja, they would have said so. He was fucking terrible. He was one of the reasons Georgia didn't have such a great year. The same reason they lost in the playoff because they let that quarterback throw him out of the game. But I digress. Beck was heralded as hands down the best quarterback in the country, and they say Ewers was behind him. That's what the mainstream said before the season, because they always say stupid shit like that nobody goes back and holds them accountable for. A mainstream.
Who raised you?
But if you stop and think about that, that makes all the sense in the world. For him, Beck was total garbage. And, maybe I would chill, but I mean, if you see more of an opportunity and you feel like there's somewhere where you can get some more bread, hopefully there is. I guess I understand. Now, it's jacked up. I see both sides of it. I would probably want to stay in that situation. And at the same time, I can see him thinking, man, these people think I suck, and I think this motherfucker's play calling sucks. Now, after that game, it's hard to say what you go. I can say that motherfucker's tough. He damn sure didn't duck his head. He took a hell of a lick, and he got up and kept on damn playing. He damn sure didn't quit on anybody, but I can see both sides of it. I can definitely see teammates saying this is some bullshit, but I can see him saying, if Beck is getting $4 million or whatever the hell he's getting, I have to deserve more. There's no way I can't, because that dude is garbage. Now, the only difference is he gets positive press, and nobody's saying anything about how stupid it is that he's being picked up like he's really a good quarterback. So nobody's mentioning that, but I mean, they never do. So I didn't realize, okay, so that's what happened. Interesting. JBJ said, after this season, Miami fans will say to Beck, you know what? You're right. You're right. After they watch him play a couple of games.
Wait a minute.
You're hysterical, sir, calling him the Hawaiian. But, I mean, lack of details only help the wicked. It's not like you're wrong. Sir. And this is the Underground Railroad Show hosted by your boy, that ninja. Okay, thank y'all for that information. I knew it was some type of monetary dispute. I just didn't have the details. Okay, interesting. Now, you know what'll be funny? I think, I don't know, maybe this will be the thing that'll make the brisket salesman actually open up the offense. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe the next guy, maybe if he, looks a little more like Hypo. I don't know. Maybe after this, I don't understand. Tennessee's one of those teams I think has the ability, but every time there's a big game, he calls the game in such a scared manner. It's very, I don't know what the hell he's doing, but the aggression that they need to be the team that they could actually be and be a scary team and a team nobody wants to see coming, they refuse to do it on a consistent basis, and I never understand it. The throws are there, the offense and the plays are there. He doesn't open it up enough. Maybe he'll do it with the next quarterback. He might have to after considering he just lost his guy, but maybe he'll do it with the next QB. Maybe. JBJ said, after this season, Miami fans will say to Beck,
He robbing us, you son of a bitch.
He's already done that. And again, I don't know. Perhaps Miami will upgrade at the receiver position. So, Beck will actually have somebody to throw to. That would be different. Perhaps they're going to upgrade and Beck will have somebody to throw to. But stop and think about it. Beck had talent, and Georgia has top-tier talent. He couldn't get the ball to them. He was having a terrible year. They just didn't talk about it. Another privilege for certain people, but he was having a terrible year. They had great talent, and he couldn't get the ball to them. Cam Ward had an excellent year. I don't know how much the receiver position has improved, but unless they've picked up a multitude of receivers to help that man out, Beck is going to have. He's not going to have a great year. What you saw was precision and elite quarterback play from Cam Ward last year. Beck is not that. The improvement that he would need would be off the charts. So, I mean, we'll see, but I have no expectation of anything close to what I saw with Cam Ward. I'm quite sure that's not going to happen. So the prospects, they'd have to improve greatly, and you're still not going to have what Georgia has. So I'm not sure what they're thinking about. With that type of bread, the Beck, maybe they have some bread to break off to some receivers that they'll have to make him look good. But I was confused by that pickup. It didn't make sense to me. Why are you coveting Beck? Did you watch him play? Are you coveting him because you watch SportsCenter? Or did you actually watch him play football? Because if you did, that didn't make sense. But, do your thing. Do you think? Georgia's a better program than Miami, and he couldn't make it work at Georgia. But, okay.
Oh, you're on something, all right. Must be some powerful shit, too.
How do you go from Cam Ward to wanting Beck? That doesn't make any sense.
Oh, you're on something, all right. Must be some powerful shit, too.
All right, moving on. Let's go here. Once again, just to reiterate this point. Again, it's one thing to be bullied by individuals. That's life. That's going to happen. It's another thing that by their actions, you're being bullied by the whole country. So as somebody that watches other ninjas that look like me go through heinous acts, and all I see is the people in charge of these other organizations. The media is empathetic towards the murderers. The police are empathetic towards the murderer. The justice system is an injustice system that does nothing to the murderer, but will send a ninja away for trying to defend himself or herself. That's bullying. So I think as Black people, we be fools to worry about what anybody else is going through when we still can't get basic fucking rights. And we have to rationalize our trauma to the point that nobody wants to hear that shit. And you'll actually rationalize the behavior of savages because you feel powerless. Well, some people feel powerless, so their only way to deal with it is to simply not talk about it or get mad at people that might bring it up. But to bring it up is not to make an excuse, it's to make people aware. So if you're aware, you can act accordingly. If you truly understand, I'm not going to get a fair shake, maybe you'll act differently. Maybe you won't think they can't do this. This is against the law. I'm going to speak about my rights. If you're Black, you'll say, you know what? I'm in a hostile situation. Let me do what I got to do to get out of this situation. But I think that young man, Carmelo Anthony, if he's paying attention, I understand why he felt like he had to protect himself because nobody else is going to do it. Again, I just wouldn't look at that in the bubble. Now, quickly, I want to get into I don't even know if I want to call it a segment. I think different people have different ways to describe this type of rhetoric, but just a couple of things that just annoy me on a personal level. Things that make me say,
What the fuck is wrong with you?
And some of these things might be minor to some. Some might be things that you do, but I'll just tell you why it annoys me.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
People that when they leave the grocery store don't put up their damn shopping cart. Now, I'll give you a caveat. If you have an ailment, you have a young child, you have a newborn, things of this nature, that's understandable. I'm talking about able-bodied people that are so damn selfish and or inconsiderate, would be self-righteous in most other situations, if given the opportunity, by the way. Just leave the fucking card in the space or leave it to roll across the parking lot and hit somebody else's car. Lazy motherfucker, walk 30 or 40 feet and put that shit up. I know this is some minor shit, but it annoys me because sometimes you pull up to the space and some lazy motherfuckers left that shit in the damn space. Most of the time they need that damn walk. And again, physical issues, older, you have a young child, things of this nature, you don't want to leave the car. I understand that. Everybody else, y'all are full of shit. Put the goddamn card up. It can hit somebody else's car. Sometimes you leave it in the damn space. I pulled up in Walmart one time, on the side of the town that is predominantly Caucasian. And there were about 15 carts in the walkway and in parking spaces. I sat there and watched able-bodied, middle-aged Caucasian men leave the car by the damn truck. Like, you sorry motherfucker. And you got kids. Kids love to take the car to the damn thing. What the fuck you doing? I guess in their mind, they figure the motherfuckers to work there should come and get it. I don't know. And again, that's minor shit, but it annoys me. Put the goddamn carts up.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
And again, minor shit. Motherfuckers that litter. And I know I sound like some kind of after-school special, but motherfuckers that litter. Can't stand y'all either. Now, again, there are exceptions to everything. There are caveats to everything. If you're, being irresponsible, say you're younger, and you're riding around with paraphernalia or things that could get you in trouble if you were pulled over, I understand you disposing of those. But even in those situations, most of the time you can find a trash receptacle. Any convenience store, you can just pull up to the gas pump, toss it, keep it pushing. But there are certain situations where I understand certain things have to get out of the car. But outside of that, people that work at a place and throw shit right outside the thing in the parking space, tossing shit out the damn window as you're going down the road, all that goofy shit, fucking up your own damn neighborhood, throwing trash out of the neighborhood you live in, that shit's weird, but I'll never understand it. I never understand that shit. Just for the fact that it's just fucking dumb. Put the shit in the bag, and there are too many places you're going to with a trash can. Not to mention, you can actually get a ticket for that stupid shit. The one time I did see somebody do that, one of the very few times when police lights came on, I said, those dumb motherfuckers deserve it. Car full, I think, young white kids, probably just out kicking it. Yeah, they were young because they were eating McDonald's. How do I know they were eating McDonald's, you ask? I was 2 cars behind them, I think, but I could see them clearly. I think the police car was in front of me. There were police either sitting right there to the side of them or behind them. And, they were living so carefree they didn't even notice. The back passenger side window came down. They threw out about 3 or 4 bags of McDonald's, tossing cups. I mean, they tossed all kind of shit out the window. 3 or 4 bags, 3 or 4 cups. Damn lights came on. I started laughing. You dumb motherfuckers. You deserve that shit. Got a ticket for absolutely no damn reason. Now, I don't know if the driver told him to do that shit, but if he didn't, somebody might have had to walk home that night because the driver got that ticket. One of the very few times I laughed at somebody getting a ticket. But they threw out about 3 or 4 damn bags of McDonald's. I can't stand motherfuckers that litter. Just a personal pee. Just quickly telling you about some things that made me say,
what the fuck is wrong with you?
Hey, I throw one more in for good measure. And again, if you have a physical ailment, I understand. But if you've driven around a parking lot for more than 1 minute, maybe 2, because you're trying to get a close parking space, or you're waiting for somebody to leave so you don't have to park so far out.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
You probably need to walk. Now, again, physical ailments, withstanding, and, having a total kid, there are exceptions. Outside of that, man, walk.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
I saw a motherfucker riding around. I went in the store and left, and there was a motherfucker that was riding around waiting for a parking space. He took mine when I left. But homie wasn't going to damn take a walk. When he got out, I say, man, nothing wrong with you, bro. You probably need to walk. Bro. Wouldn't hurt to wash your clothes every now and again either. I apologize.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Just things that annoy me. That's all. We got my man 334 on the train. What's going on, sir? Thank you for coming aboard. Hope you are enjoying the ride thus far, sir. Now from there, and again, I'm going to throw you a few of these every show.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
And this too. And this too. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I just have bad luck. But I'm really tired of seeing people digging their nose in my rearview mirror. Hey, man, when y'all driving, because you know when I'm driving, I'm kind of observant. Do y'all notice, and I'm just going to be honest, do y'all notice the lighter hue digging in their nose all the time? I promise you, I've damn near lost count. Like one day it was just really bad, dude, like 3 or 4 in the same day. And I don't want to get into the whole disgusting thing about what they was. I've seen some very disturbing things in the rearview mirror. Well, and these cats in the car, I'm like, man, at least get some tint if you're gonna do that. Looking at it like you damn just found a mineral out the damn cave. I digress, but you can stop doing that too.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
I know I got sinuses, I understand, but use some damn tissue, bruh. My God.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
That's why I'm pretty much done with like handshakes. That's why I be getting people elbows and shit. Witnessing people leaving the bathroom, not washing their hands and all that shit. And I can throw that in there. Hey, we did kind of slide out of a pandemic, right? Would it kill you to wash your hands when you leave a public restroom?
What the fuck is wrong with you?
You realize after that damn pandemic, I'm going to volleyball tournaments and people still walk. You know what people I'm talking about. They still walking out of there and not even looking at the sink.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
I don't know if that's like a silent protest.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Even after that, I'll never understand it. Nice. Oh, okay. 334 said Ninja 45340 time last weekend. Damn! Hold on. Let me change the whole subject matter. 334 is young, and I believe now. Is he a sophomore or junior, sir? Is he a junior now? Remind me, sir, is he just now about to be a sophomore, or is he going into his junior year? I think he's just a sophomore. I could be wrong. But they do, and maybe some of you know about this, they do combine. They do the combine in Florida. Just, you know, all the stuff that they do in the NFL combine. They have a combine, I guess, for high school students or maybe just high school students that are, you know, at a certain level. And before, he ran a pretty good 40 time. But 334's son ran a 4.53. Hold on, sir. Let me find the. Hey, man, that is excellent speed. Excellent speed for a defensive end and or linebacker, and he hasn't even reached his full potential. He's going to get faster than that with the proper training and just getting up. He's going to get faster than that. A 4.5 is excellent for that position. Excellent. That means he's going to be a 4.4 at one point. I'd imagine at one point he's going to work his way, but a 4.5 is excellent. That's good for a linebacker. That is excellent for a DN. Excellent. 4.5, that is nice. 4.5 is moving. Like 4.4, you're in the class of elite people when you're running a 4.4. A 4.5 is not slow. Anything under a 4.4 doesn't look human. It looks like a video game. But 4.5, man, you're moving at that size. That's moving. That is very impressive, sir.
That boy is good.
That's for your youngin', sir.
That boy is good. That boy is good. That boy is good.
Nice. 4.5. You have to understand, this is a young man of size and stature. And he has the right attitude just from the film I've seen. And I need to talk to you about the schedule of 334 and what do you think would be the best time for me? You know, what would be a good game to come to? I'm definitely coming. I'm gonna drive down and check that out. I want to see young and play, so I want to look at that schedule and figure that out. But thank you for keeping me in the loop, sir. A 4.5. Ooh, oh, that's nice. A 4.5 is nice. 334 said digging in their nose, then touching shit. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm serious. Like, you think I'm just like talking, just like to be funny and shit? No, I'm so serious. Like it's once is once just twice coincidence, 3 times is a trend. 10 plus 15, 16 times. What's wrong? I've just seen it too much. And if it was spread out amongst other ethnicities, I would say that, but it's not. It just happens, and I'm not looking for it. As Light Skywalker says, it just finds me. It just finds me. As 334 said, still a sophomore going into his junior year. Very impressive. To even be in a conversation this early is very impressive. 4.5 is nice. That's all you need right there. If anything on top of that is gravy. 4.5 at those positions is excellent. It's excellent. You moving at 4.5. And again, from the tape, he's quick. It's one thing to have to build up to your speed and whatnot, but he appears to be quick. Not appears to be. He's quick. So if you're quick, and that's big, man. And at LB, that means he can cover the field. At N, that means you can be a fucking menace. A menace. 334 said, that's why I haven't eaten at a buffet in double-digit years. You know what? And let me get back to what I meant to give your youngin initially. And we can tack it on to what you just said. Yes, sir. I have no need for buffets for that reason, and for the fact that I don't eat like that. I just don't eat like that anymore. It would be a waste of money. I'm quote unquote not going to get my money's worth. But for that and for your youngin, sir, 4.5. What? In 4.53, he just missed getting to a 4.4. So yeah, very nice. Very nice. JBJ said, yes, sir. That documented speed, 4.5. I don't know how to. Man, you stupid, man. Chill out. JBJ, you stupid. JBJ saying, yes, sir. That documented speed, 4.5. JB saying, I don't know how to do none of that shit. Yeah, I did not run a 4.5. I was a 4.6 on my best day, 4.7 most of the time. I think the best I ever ran was 4.6. I was a 4.7. Was not fast like that. 4.5 is impressive. 4.5 is definitely impressive. Sees the Underground Railroad Show hosted by your boy that Ninja. Let me get into something else. Before I do that, me double check, make sure I didn't leave anything out. That's interesting. And forgive me for that pause. Okay, generally speaking. All right, we're about to get into something that I guess I could call.
Come on, man, that's a brittle spirit. That is a brittle ass spirit. Come on, man, that's a brittle spirit. That is a brittle ass spirit.
And this was provoked by a story that I saw, and I believe I got it right. But it's concerning the Philadelphia Eagles and the sneak that they run with Hurts. Notice I don't call it by that goofy ass name that they give it. That's one of the little undercover things they do, trying to be assholes. But the name that they give it is stupid as hell. They're trying to dismiss it because of the person that's doing it. At the end of the day, Jalen Hurts is somebody they never chose. They talk bad about him in his college career, during the draft, during the combine, during the draft, and during his entire career. The year he won the year he went to the after going to the Super Bowl and having a great game, they're still trying to sit him down for Kenny Pickett, who's never done a damn thing in this league, but he is white, and that counts for something. So Jalen Hurts was somebody that they never picked. So no matter what the hell he did, it didn't matter. So they just continued to write a bunch of stupid shit, even after winning the Super Bowl. Because it looks bad if they do it. They always hire ninjas and say, hey, go out there and say a bunch of dumb shit about the ninja that just won the Super Bowl. Go ahead and do that. Go ahead. So because Jalen Hurts is somebody they didn't pick, anything that he does, they try to downplay it. So I'm not going to use that incredibly stupid name. And I'm not, knocking people that do, but I just hear it for what it is. I'm almost certain, unless I'm wrong and that's what they call it in the fucking huddle, I doubt it. I think that's just a stupid ass name somebody gave it. It's a mental thing. If it was just a matter of being pushed, if it was that simple, then the quote unquote person that they call an unstoppable force, I think he also goes by Josh Allen, who got handed the MVP because they like how he looked. And again, they would have had to get the MVP for the third time to somebody they said they couldn't play. But no, I digress. I've watched multiple games where the announcers are screaming how he's an unstoppable force. But that unstoppable force can't run that same play and get the same results. So obviously it's not the fucking play. It's the execution of the play. And it has something to do with the fact that Jalen Hurts is the one with the football. And for me, because the mainstream gives all this energy to this play, gives it a moist-ass name, and acts as if this is something outside of football. Keep in mind, this is the same media that made excuses for every cheating-ass move that New England did. But, they had a quarterback who they liked a lot more. They were actually cheating, and it received less scrutiny than a play that Philadelphia executes well. At the end of the day, a phrase I normally am annoyed by, this is about Jalen Hurts more than anything. He is the reason why that play has a hard time being stopped. And if it's so simple, everybody could and would do it, but they can't. The unstoppable force couldn't do that shit last year in the playoffs, kept getting stopped, and got sent home again. And because they felt sorry for him, we'll give you this Ninja's MVP. We don't want to give him a third one. That puts him up there in legendary status. Bullying my black ass. I digress. But when this came up again and again, the mainstream push, calling it what they call it, bringing on a panel to talk about it and all this stupid shit. If I remember correctly, it did not get voted out. So thank God they didn't vote it out. But it keeps coming up. And this is my issue. Complaining about the sneak play that the Eagles run.
Come on, man. That's a brittle spirit. That is a brittle ass spirit.
They're not recording your plays and having the league destroy the damn tapes. What are you worried about? They're not deflating the football. But it's getting talked about a lot more than any of those goddamn things did. Is this your way of trying to downplay them winning? What difference does it make? Jalen Hurts isn't shit according to your goddamn coverage and evaluation. Josh Allen is everything. Why can't he run the same fucking play with the same results if he's so goddamn unstoppable?
Come on, man. That's a brittle spirit. That is a brittle ass spirit.
The point of this, they only want to change the rules when a ninja is doing something well. They only want to change the rules when a ninja is doing something well. And because I just don't say things without evidence, let's discuss some of these situations. They outlawed the slam dunk because ninjas were slam dunking. They speak about Lou Alcindor. But ninjas were dunking the basketball. That was something the whites could not do in abundance. Therefore, it must be bad. Let's outlaw dunking for two reasons. One, it's something that ninjas do well. And two, it'll help out the white players who are the ones we actually care about.
Come on, man, that's a brittle spirit. That is a brittle ass spirit.
That's why it was removed, because black people were doing it. When more of them could do it, I guess it's okay now. It was removed because it was a high percentage shot and it wasn't something that the whites could do. So anytime a ninja does something well, they will literally change the rules to help out the people they actually care about.
Come on, man, that's a brittle spirit. That is a brittle ass spirit.
Hey, come on, Ninja. That was back in the day. I mean, that was a long time ago. Why are you bringing that up? Okay. There was an individual named Bob Gibson. All of the quote-unquote great players that the media always likes to talk about in baseball, they call them great back when they didn't have to play against black players, which means they played in an inferior league against inferior competition. Yes, I said that. If you want to see real baseball, you wouldn't watch the Negro Leagues. But let's stay with this. When they finally did that ninjas in, and they dominated, by the way, Bob Gibson was so dominant that they lowered the mound. It used to sit higher. This is the same mound that was there before. What's the problem? Oh, he's doing it, so this shit is unacceptable. It wasn't a problem before. Why do you need to fuck with the mound now? Why? Why? Number one, we don't need them breaking too many records. We don't need them being too dominant. Let's help our players out because we can't do anything with them. Once again, a ninja does it well. Let's change it up. Let's switch it up.
Come on, man, that's a brittle spirit. That is a brittle ass spirit.
Just giving examples. I'll give you one more. And this is probably the biggest example. And the point in all this is that there has never been and there will never be a situation where a white player or athlete is excelling and the first thing that comes to their mind is we need to change the rules or change something so they can no longer excel. That is reserved for black players in multiple sports. Right now, they're trying to do it with Jalen Hurts. And you know what? I'll just keep it as is. They're trying to do it with Jalen Hurts. They did it with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. They did it with Bob Gibson. And I could be long-winded, but I'll keep it simple. And again, I get how he carries himself, but I'm speaking about how the world sees him. Tiger Woods. Same damn Masters. Ironically, it just finished with the Masters, but same damn golf course that's been there for years. Nicklaus won multiple majors and multiple Masters. There have been a few players that have done that. Nobody ever felt the need to change the course because it was too easy or he was winning too fucking much. But when a once-in-a-lifetime ninja, who was a ninja whether he wanted to be or not, was dominant at that course. Once he got a hold of it, he got a hold of that course. They literally changed the goddamn course. After they changed the course, that's when Mickelson went on his Masters run because they literally made it more advantageous for his game. It favored lefties to a degree. They changed the course because it suited Tiger's game too well. So he's good at this. He's doing things. He's doing too good. You're projecting he might win a little bit too much. So let's change the entire goddamn golf course, and then we'll tell this same ignorant ass media to get out there and say, well, they're not changing it because of Tiger. They just felt it was time for a change.
Come on, man, that's a brittle spirit. That is a brittle ass spirit.
Throughout history of sports, anytime a ninja's done something too well, they change things up. I'll go to the NBA, and I have, so those who disagree me. Okay, the point in this is they never change rules to hurt white players in sports. But if a black player is doing too well, or doing something that they deem unfair because they can't do it or they can't stop it, they will literally change the rules to cut that shit out. Bob Gibson too good, lower the mound. Tiger Woods too good, change the whole goddamn golf course. Kareem unstoppable, let's take away dunking. That'll help us out a little bit. Maybe we can compete. White players never have to worry about the rule being changed because they might get too good at something. They never have to worry about that. All of these individuals, to a degree, change the game. Now, Jalen Hurts, it's early, but if they're trying to make a rule to outlaw a play that everybody else can run, but you just can't execute it, that means you're either not coaching up the play well enough, you're not looking at the schematics and understanding who needs to block where, you don't have the personnel, or you don't have a quarterback that can squat the gym. But only black players have to deal with the rules being changed if they get too good at something. Now, the reverse of that, there are several situations where things happen. In every situation I talked about, the other side of that was it helped out those other players. They didn't want Kareem to dunk, so white players could compete a little better or have a better chance. They didn't want Bob Gibson to break too many records. They didn't want Tiger Woods to break too many records. And they don't want a player that they said wasn't even good enough to be drafted to not only be a Super Bowl champ, to be somebody who's been to the Super Bowl twice, outplayed Patrick Mahomes in the first Super Bowl that he lost and his defense didn't show up in, and has been one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, despite the coverage of so-called football experts that would love for Justin Herbert to be better than him. He's just not. They would love for Allen to be better than him. He's just not.
Come on, man. That's a brittle spirit. That is a brittle-ass spirit.
This is another example of rules being bent to help out the people that they actually care about in sports. Basketball, I remember when they got rid of there used to be you had to cover everybody man on man in the NBA. That really exposed those who couldn't. That favored people that had better individual games and athleticism and favored black players for the most part. So you couldn't deny them because those players were valuable. Allowing a zone allowed you to hide a player or two that was a defensive liability. Also, allowing people to jump on the ground and scream allows you to no longer be a defensive liability when you don't have a chance in hell of guarding somebody. All of these things are to help lesser players that they rather see excel. So the rules will get changed for them, but only to help, never to hurt. Throughout history, and it continues.
Come on, man. That's a brittle spirit. That is a brittle-ass spirit.
Every time, boy, they're a little too good at this. They're a little too good. Hey, JBJ, I don't appreciate that. Ninja had that fullback speed. He is struggling. Yeah, I was not a 4-4 guy. I was around him. Was not a 4-4 guy. Motherfucker, Ninja had fullback speed.
What? Nigga, please.
Hey, slow down. Watch your speed.
Ninja had that fullback speed.
He's struggling.
Oh, ain't that a bitch? Oh, look at that. All right, allow me to continue. What was I at? I'm trying to see what I'm missing right here from Truck. Truck D said, I haven't had a damn thing in my time that started with a 4. Oh, in your time. Hey, man, a lot of the big men ran 5s or ran 5 something. But that's fast. Like we had a couple of big men that could run like 4.8s and shit like that, 4.7. They were moving. You know what I'm saying? That size, you moving. You moving, but you stupid. Trendy, I haven't had a damn thing in my time. This started with a 4. Oh man. Hey shit, it's all good, sir. Man, I couldn't I hated that shit. I hated that. I hated that. I hated that I wasn't at least a 4-5 guy. I hated that I wasn't at least a 4-5 guy. 'Cause that I went to like I told you, I went to a black high school. We had some damn athletes. We had motherfuckers running 4-5 and better the whole damn time. We had plenty of those cats. Plenty of them. JBJ said, yes, sir. Referring to 334's youngin. JBJ said, yes, sir. That documented speed, 4-5.
I don't know how to do none of that shit.
That's me too, JBJ.
I don't know how to do none of that shit.
I mean, I know how to go about it, but I just can't execute.
I don't know how to do none of that shit. I don't know how to do none of that shit. I don't know how to do none of that shit.
Fullback time struggling. Disrespectful. I'm trying to remember to check the different formats because I've noticed after the fact on the show that some people will look at it on Facebook, and I never think to look at Facebook. And I normally wouldn't do this. I'm trying. There's something else I meant to say too. I'm trying to do better about my online presence. Like that's why I was apologizing to Dexter at the beginning. He gave me the story on the twins. Probably before, well, it was before actually Sluggo gave it to me in the cow. And he gave me that story I talked about at the top of the show with Carmelo Anthony. He gave me that. God, it's been a minute. Yeah. He gave me that like immediately after it happened. He gave me that like at least a couple of weeks ago. At least a couple of weeks ago. So, with that being said, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best. Thank you for that, 334. Thank you for that. I'm going to do my best, not do my best. I'm going to make sure from this point forward to do better about checking everything online, the show page and everything again. So, 1 second. So when you send these stories and when I get these stories, I won't miss them. You know what? I didn't. Hold up, 334. Was you referring to this one?
I don't know how to do none of that shit. I don't know how to do none of that shit.
Jungle Brother picked that out right away. Jungle picked that out right away. I thought that would be hard to guess. He picked that out right away. But yeah, that's a comedian. You know me in comedy.
I don't know how to do none of that shit.
Yeah, I don't at all. 4-5 was not in my spectrum, sir. Not in my spectrum. All right, let me think. Oh, that's the point I was making. The online content, I'm going to do a lot better for everybody that goes to the page and sends things. I'm going to do a lot better about checking that and including that either in the cows and or making sure I bring up those stories. Sydney might have sent me something on Instagram that I actually might have wanted to bring up. I can't remember, but like Griffin, Sydney sometimes send me things on Instagram. ABM does it all the time. I'm terrible about checking my Twitter. I guess it's called X now, but I'm terrible about checking that. I'm going to do a lot better about that. I'm terrible about checking those things. I'm going to take the time to look at them and make sure I see those different stories and whatnot. So I apologize for those that use those platforms, and I'm late about getting back to you about that. So my apologies for that. That being said, I believe we are now in a position to get into these cow awards. Make sure I didn't have check this one more time. Cut that. Okay. All right, let's get into these cow awards, the colonizer of the week. And let me see. I don't think I have. Should almost prefix. Well, let's see here. That's right. I can't. They don't do that. Oh, that's something else I don't like about the soundboard. Shit, that sucks. All right, one quick second, then we get into the cows.
We need Tea-Body. We need Tea-Body. Won't you vote Tea-Biden?
That motherfucker must have lost his goddamn mind. You must be on something.
White man just a joy to be around. It smell like lemon juice and pledge furniture cleaner.
Come on, sister. God damn.
The truth is for everybody, but everybody might not be for the truth.
Amerikkka.
I apologize. It froze for a second there. Wouldn't let me unmute the mic. Let's go ahead and get into these cow awards. Cow awards are the colonizer of the week. Speaking about those stories that we don't normally hear about, they usually go unchecked or unnoticed or undercovered. A lot of those situations I was speaking about earlier, even in the situation with Carmelo Anthony, you can look at the way it's being covered. Like when I spoke about the bullying aspect. Again, psychotic. Again, not being attacked. I'm going to get a weapon, go into a theater and kill people because I don't like my life. But the coverage is empathetic, honor student, mental issues or whatever excuse they make for that. But when somebody's being confronted, tell somebody to leave them alone and they defend themselves, there's no empathy. The way that they worded the article might as well have read, lock this ninja up. They had zero empathy for that, but you have empathy for somebody that attacked people that were enjoying themselves at a movie because you're socially awkward or whatever the fuck is wrong with you. So again, for these reasons, I can't talk about that and speak about it like we live in a bubble. Such is just not the reality. Let's get into these colonizers of the week again. To reset, pointing out these stories that go unnoticed and untalked about. Because when black people are murdered or heinous things happen, these stories go under the radar. As we spoke about the twins last week at the mountaintop, and they called it murder-suicide. Because of these cow wars, and y'all get these to me 3-4 months, usually before they come out, sometimes as much as a year. You know, they like to let it die down and stuff. So there have been so many different. There was a guy that was an 18-wheeler driver, had just delivered something to Walmart. Then he got found somewhere hung. Like, you're going to go do your job, deliver some shit, and then go somewhere and hang yourself as a black man? Get the fuck out of here. But again, they just ruled it a suicide because who's running the police department? And if they're involved in the shit, you know the shit's going bad. And again, if you're living in the country, and again, it was evident way before this. When you can have a bunch of inbred, sister fucking, no count terrorist, devil ass motherfuckers attack the country because they're mad they lost a goddamn election. You really think they're above? Okay. You already know the police are crooked. Think they're above turning a blind eye or doing dirt themselves? Murder, suicide. I digress. But the colonizer of the week is to point out these stories that don't go covered, that go uncovered, don't get talked about, get swept under the rug, and are usually brushed off as the police were just doing their job, or they killed themselves for no reason in a place that they never go, some shit like that. But there have been so many hangings that they ruled as suicides concerning black people. This situation with the twins, they're just not talking about it purposely. which is, again, another indication when I talked about this story. I've noticed that this is actually in the news. This is actually being talked about. Usually not the case. I wonder if, I don't think I can. I kind of want to try something, but I think it's a quick check. Quick check. Quick check. Am I audible while this is on? Can y'all hear me, or is the audio bad? As a matter of fact, I think I can do a quick self-check. Can y'all hear me, or is the audio bad? Just checking. Generally on this format, you can talk during the soundbite, but since I've made that adjustment with the mic, just checking to see if that is still the case. I know there's a delay, so I'll wait for this to hit the chat room. But right now, can y'all hear me? Am I audible, or is it breaking up? Forgive me for checking the mic live, but again, getting used to the new format. I've noticed on some of the replays when I did listen and I ran a soundbite, my voice didn't break up, so I'm just checking. Ooh. Testing. I'll be damned, it's working. Okay. Think I can get away with it. All right. I gotta do a quick soundbite. Okay. Maybe I actually can talk behind the soundbites. I'm definitely not giving y'all an extra show this week. Won't have these Monday. Okay. Yeah, let's close out with the cows. Let me double check that one more time. Testing. Okay, I'm good. Okay, so there's still some things to be discovered, I see. I have 1, 2, 3 fish-eyed fools. I have 3 fish-eyed fools. They all come from Sluggo. And the first one reads as follows. Fish-eyed fool to the Kentucky jury who recently gave... Wait a minute, wait. This must be old. Let me make sure I got the right ones. Okay, I understand why he made that move. Why he made that mistake. Cow Wars, rather. Count nominee to a Kentucky juror who recently gave a white man a relatively light sentence for killing his black wife in 2023. Let's start that over. No, that's right. Okay. Just making sure. I was double checking because sometimes these cows run together. So I was making sure this was the latest email and I wasn't reading an old cow. Let me see. Nope, this is it. All right, apologies. Cow award to the Kentucky jury who recently gave, hold on, cough button. Cow award to a Kentucky jury who recently gave a white man a relatively light sentence for killing his black wife in 2023. According to the Atlanta Black Star, the murder trial of a former U.S. Army service member accused, of fatally shooting his wife at her birthday party. What the fuck? Of fatally shooting his wife at her birthday party ended with a manslaughter conviction, triggering an emotional outcry from the victim's family members in court. A Kentucky jury found 34-year-old Jordan Michael Henning guilty of first-degree felony manslaughter for the shooting death of his 32-year-old wife, Ashley Henning. Jordan shot his wife multiple times during her birthday party at the couple's home on June 26, 2023. The News Enterprise reported. Witnesses told the investigators that right before the shooting, they started leaving the party because the couple began to argue. Neighbors even removed the Hennings children from the home as the fight intensified. Multiple surveillance cameras from the inside of the home caught the fatal encounter. One camera recorded Jordan appearing enraged when he grabbed his handgun, went behind a living room wall and started shooting. Footage also shows him reloading his firearm once between shots, then spitting on Ashley's corpse when he was finished. Prosecutors say he shot Ashley 5 times. Henning fled the home before authorities arrived, but they found him a mile away making numerous utterances apologizing for hurting his wife. The arrest citation read, he was charged with murder, domestic violence, a Class A felony in Kentucky. During the trial, defense attorney said Jordan's actions were the result of a mental breakdown. Oh, they always say that. A mental breakdown triggered by years of verbal abuse committed by Ashley. Prosecutors disputed the claims, as well as friends of Ashley who testified that Jordan was a paranoid prepper who had a hit list in the event of an apocalypse. After the jury read off their verdict, Ashley's cousin, U.S. Marine Chief Warrant Officer John Williams directly addressed jury members, calling them cowards. And this is the justice that America gives me. Unspeakable, unthinkable. It's disgusting, Williams said with tears in his eyes. Every single one of you, every one of you are cowards. During the trial, Jordan Henning took the stand and made his case to the jurors, alleging that he wasn't thinking at all when he fired the fatal shots. I just broke. I don't know. The next thing I remember, I'm standing over top of her shooting, and I didn't know how it got to that point. I watched myself on that video, Henning said, referring to the surveillance footage played in the court. I don't know who that was. Ain't that a bitch? Both Jordan and Ashley were active military service members at the time of the shooting. If what you saw in the video is not evil and malicious, I don't know what is, Assistant Commonwealth Attorney Eric Carr said. This is one of the most cold-blooded acts of violence possible. After 4 hours of deliberating, the jury returned their verdict, declaring Henning guilty of manslaughter and recommending a 20-year prison sentence. Had Henning been convicted of murder, he could have faced between 20 and 50 years or life in prison. His sentencing date has not yet been set. 20 years, I think technically, 10 or 12? I really don't know, but for cold-blooded murder, because you were mad, shot her five times and spit on her after he did it, and he just snapped. I don't know what happened. Manslaughter. Not murder. Manslaughter. A slap on the wrist for what he did. But again, I bet if you got an opportunity to see that jury, everything would make sense. This is actually towards the jury, but this is going to be for the jury. Jordan Henning and the jury. You might not win in a tough field, but you will be recognized. And we'll give details later. More think about it. I hope y'all could actually hear that. Second cow award comes from Sluggo, and it reads as follows. God damn, boy. Manslaughter.
Stupid as a stupid does.
Stupid as stupid does. Stupid as stupid does, sir.
Stupid as a stupid does.
Stupid as stupid does. Stupid as stupid does, sir.
Cow nomination to Lieutenant Matthew Furman for tasing a black mother in front of her kid for expired registration. What? Then he claimed he was in fear of his safety. They always say that. According to the Atlanta Black Star, Lieutenant Matthew Furman of the Melvindale Police Department in Michigan is the quintessential bad cop, the one we've seen hundreds of times on videos over the years using the power of the badge to harass, intimidate, and abuse black citizens, only to continue being promoted within the department. Body camera footage reveals Furman to be a condescending cop who seems to take pleasure in destroying the lives of black people, tasering them when they are posing no threat to him. And his personal records reveal a cop who has been suspended, fired, and sued and criminally charged over the 12 years he has been a cop. But now he is a lieutenant, overseeing multiple police officers, making almost $110,000 a year. According to OpenGov Pay, in a town where the median income is just over $41,000. Well, that's because being a piece of shit pays. And if you're being judged by other pieces of shit and your only crime is dealing with us, it's not a problem. Because again, we're the only people in this country actually being bullied. But I digress. The latest incident that surfaced last week with the release of body cam footage took place last April after Furman approached a black mother sitting in a car parked outside of school to drop off her 11-year-old daughter for cheerleading practice. Are you fucking kidding me? Alicia Cook says she was driving a friend's car and had just received news that the friend had just gone through heart surgery when Furman approached her, telling her the registration on the car had expired and the vehicle was not insured. Furman became enraged when he asked for her driver's license, but Cook told him 1 second because she had just answered a phone call from her mother. You're on a traffic stop. Don't tell me 1 second, Furman told her. I'm giving you a lawful police order. It's a public access parking lot. I have full jurisdiction, just like I do on that roadway. So lose the attitude. What an ignorant piece of shit. And do as you're instructed, he demanded. He then called for backup. Oh, what a piece of shit. Yes, I need help. I'm in danger. God damn, I swear. Boy, you took... and began claiming he was in fear for his safety. Well, that's what pieces of shit do. And that's what the pieces of shit that we live with try to pretend like they don't understand as they continue to murder. But it's just us. Why do they care? Even though Cook did nothing to indicate she was going to harm him, she's a fucking woman, man. Shut up. I gave you a lawful order and I'm concerned about my safety because you're not doing what I told you. I want your ID and your keys, he added. I'm not giving you no keys. I'm worried about my safety. Cook classified Furman then began tasering her and yanking her out of the car? Motherfucker, you need to be killed. Ordering her to lie face down on the ground with her hands behind her back. When I tell you to do something, you do it. See, this is the problem. There are so many fucked up white people that are policemen that when they get their power, they do that. And other fucked up white people we live with don't care, so they don't do anything about it. And they laugh and say, you should have just followed instructions. And this is what I meant to say earlier, and I didn't say this in the beginning. Let me finish this, Cal. He told her after she was handcuffed, "You terrified me. You scared me." Cook was jailed on several charges, including resisting arrest, interference with a police officer, and driving with suspended license, but those charges were all dismissed by prosecutors. Okay, what that means is he was out of control and they're hoping she doesn't sue. I don't even got to wait on this. That cop deserves to be dead, shot in the face and fucking killed. This is the problem. And aggression only respects equal and greater aggression. The problem is most of the dumbass people that support that are madder at what I said than what he did. That's exactly what happened to Sandra Bland, except he killed her. Nothing happened. No conviction. That is why that white kid felt like he could fuck with that black kid in that school. Because that's the attitude you're putting out here. You're saying it's okay to harass black people. That shit was completely unnecessary. That's just somebody that hates himself or hates black people. But because that's a good cop, he's driven up in the ranks. So he hired more people that act just like him. And nothing happens because white America doesn't care. And if white America doesn't care, nothing's going to change because they don't give a fuck about what we want. As long as people continue to act like this shit doesn't happen, people aren't going to be informed. In that situation, she did nothing wrong. She should have the right to shoot that motherfucker in his face, but she doesn't. If she did, she would have gotten in trouble. Instead, she has to get tased. And look, he called for backup so he could justify what he did, just because he's a piece of shit. And that was a woman with the kid in the car. I'm just going to do this to you in front of your kid. Shit like this is why we always say,
I don't like fucking cops.
And this is again why I'm annoyed. Why I am annoyed when other groups are brought up and you say bullying. Man, fuck you.
I don't like fucking cops.
You might not win in a tough field, but you will be recognized.
You will be discarded in the prisons of hell.
White people have never been clean. Not now, not ever.
One more cow award comes from Sluggo, and it reads as follows. And again, the purpose of the cows is because people are unaware of these things, but I think if people were armed with this information, so many people wouldn't fall for bullshit stories and take dumbass, they wouldn't take the dumb opinions they do on certain stories if they were actually aware of the things that were going on in this country. You wouldn't hear black people talking about calling the police on other black people. Nothing about that is cute nowadays. Not if you're informed. It's really irresponsible to say shit like that. Nothing about that is cute. There's not a black person on the planet that should be picking up his phone to call the goddamn police. Very few situations where that shit's viable. Very few. And at this point, I can't think of a goddamn one. What I meant to say earlier, when I was talking about the percentages at that school in the opening, I left this part out. I knew there was one thing. 8% in the entire fucking city that he lives in, 8% black, 51% white. The next highest percentage is Asian. Chances are he's one of the very few black people in that school. And I know he's dealing with bullshit because, quite frankly, that's how they operate. Now, I say that to say, I went to school with, the others. My high school was mainly black. There were some others there, but, we're not them, so we don't bully and, hey, look at him, he's different. Let's go mess with him. People didn't do that in our school. That's not our culture. And I'm surmising what he was probably going through in the school. Number one, because this is the environment that America is creating. And when you have a bunch of simple-minded people watch these things happen, those simple-minded, poorly raised people are going to mimic that behavior because America's telling them to do that. Now, I can liken this to my middle school was a little more even. I'd say it was closer to 50-50. Maybe it was a little bit more, maybe it just slightly more ninjas, maybe. But that was pretty even. It was pretty even over there. But it was enough of us to where they weren't the majority. So there weren't any white people in that school like being bold or trying to bully and saying crazy things. And as a result, I thought all of them were cool. But back when Obama first started running, just when he was running, and white people started showing their true colors, because the truth is, anybody that's not white, they look as a threat. So when a non-white person was trying to be president, they really felt like they were being attacked. So it was okay to, be as ignorant as they were raised to be. There were multiple Caucasians that I went to school with that were saying all types of crazy shit on the internet and laughing every time the police kill black people and trying to cover it up with, I back the blue. What that means is, fuck you, nigga. And I know what you're saying. That shit isn't cute. Like, I'd rather you were actually a man about your shit and say how you felt. Everybody knows I back the boys in blue. What that had to do with anything? Like, I had one exchange with one on the internet. And then I gave him facts and intelligence. So he did what most white people do in that situation, pretended not to understand me, or probably didn't. I did use a few big words. And then all his buddies kind of just backed it up. But they were laughing and supporting some police officer that had murdered a black person, and they were acting like it was something funny. But these were all people this is somebody I played football with. But since he wasn't the majority at that school, he couldn't be himself. But, on the internet where it's safe and all these other people are just as ignorant as me, I can be who I really want to be. I doubt life turned you into that. He was there when he played ball with us, but he didn't have a majority, so he couldn't act on it. It's just my experience that when they have the majority, they get to be themselves. And most of the time, being themselves is not a positive thing for anybody who was raised correctly. But a lot of them came out the bag once they were in a safe space to do so. And I played ball with a lot of them cats. Seemed cool enough. So I can't imagine what he had to endure, because I've seen the way these cats act when they're the majority. I could care less, but I'm sorry. All that dumb shit, bullying and all of that, that's really, joking on people and all of that, that takes place in our schools and whatnot. But to the extreme that they're talking about, that's not really our thing. That's some after school special shit that happens at a white school for real. But point being that things like that happen on a regular basis. I don't give a fuck to inspired whatever, so what? I asked you to do something, you didn't do it, now I'm going to scream and pull out a taser, laugh about it and shit, which is what he was doing. All of that was dismissed because he was wrong. That woman probably doesn't have money to fight all that bullshit, and he continues to be an unblemished officer who's going to be a great guy, nothing but sympathy, laughing about it when he's at home. And this piece of shit gets to hire other people, and nothing changes because they don't fucking care. And you can never get around that shit, always talking around it and starting every conversation with, not all cops are bad. Stop being a bitch. Fuck they feelings. Feelings don't fucking make you bleed. Fuck they feelings. If you stand up and get rid of the fucked up police, you'll get support. If you support them, you're fucked up too. You don't deserve no goddamn sympathy. These are words. You can't even get a real conversation when people are talking about police officers, because every pussy motherfucker has it started with, not all cops are bad. Fuck out of here. If you support that shit, you're part of it. It's called conspiracy when you're a citizen. If you're a ninja and they think if you know somebody and they think they're going to assume you knew what he was doing, they'll charge you with what that person was doing when you didn't have nothing to do with it. But you're of my brotherhood. I'm an officer. I back you up no matter what, but I'm not part of the conspiracy. Go to fucking hell. Every time these motherfuckers are held accountable, they act like bitches. I'm being attacked. No, being attacked is being tased in front of your child because a white officer who was too fucked up to be a police officer in the first place, but he's being psychologically evaluated by another fucked up white person. So how in the hell can you got to have somebody in there that was raised right. But now you have multiple police departments where it's nothing but poorly raised white people in charge, and you can either get with the program or be fired. If you're a moral human being, it's hard to be a cop, because at one point or another, you're going to have to turn your back on your coworkers. At one point or another, if you're a decent person. I digress. Last cow award comes from Sluggo, and it reads as follows. And these damn cows, boy, you be fucking with my nerves. Damn studio. Just don't have it down yet. Count nomination to the Chicago city officials for attempting to rescind $1 and am I reading that right? Attempting to rescind a $1.25 settlement after the cops now claim the black man shot at them first. Okay, I'm okay. Obviously, $1.25 million settlement. They're trying to rescind it after the cops now claim that the black man shot at them first. According to the Atlanta Black Star, at first Chicago police claimed they stopped Dexter Reed for not wearing a seatbelt as he drove through a residential neighborhood last year. Hopping out of an unmarked SUV, y'all remember that, in plain clothes with guns drawn and ordering the 26-year-old black man to open the door without identifying themselves as cops. Then, when investigators questioned how police were able to spot Reed not wearing a seatbelt through the dark tinted window, Chicago police changed their narrative to claim that they had stopped him over the tinted windows. Either way, body camera video showed their approach was overly aggressive for what they claimed was nothing more than a non-moving traffic infraction punishable by fines. Even more aggressive was how they shot and killed him by firing 96 rounds in 41 seconds, which led to a proposed $1.25 million settlement to his family. But now Chicago city officials are trying to rescind that settlement, with some council members claiming the shooting was justified because Reed had shot at them first. Videos released by the Civilian Office of Public Accountability, the agency that first questioned the initial basis of the stop, do not show Reed holding or shooting a gun. But it does show one plainclothes cop who was standing on the other side of Reed's car near the passenger door react as if he had been shot, which was followed by dozens of shots fired by the other officers. Videos show the cops continuing shooting Reed after he stepped out of the car with his hands in the air showing no gun. And one cop shot him several times after he lay on the ground motionless. Police say that later they found an illegal gun in Reed's passenger seat, and the body camera video shows the cops peering in the Reed's tinted passenger window, saying they spotted the gun, but none of the videos released by C.O.W. appear to show the actual gun on the seat. On Friday, the City Council's Finance Committee will discuss whether to approve the proposed settlement, which will continue to be approved by the Chicago City Council on April 16th, according to WTTW. The group of cops that killed Reed was subject of dozens of complaints from minorities for making unwarranted and unconstitutional stops. According to the lawsuit filed by Reed's family and one elderman, believes refusing to approve the $1.25 million settlement could result in a much higher payout if the case goes before a jury. And then you're opening up the door for any other similar case to also sue along certain grounds. Depending on the precedent that might set, Alderman Andre Vasquez told the Chicago Tribune on February, at root, if this is the case that we could lose in court, it could open us up to losing a lot more money down the line. Money. Not the person that your officers murdered. This was a Kyle Ward a week or two ago, and now they're trying to rescind the money. So not only did they murder this man, again, you're in plain clothes. I prayed that he had an automatic weapon so he could have killed all of them. You just look like a bunch of white thugs to me January 6th. You're in a plain car, you're hopping out, it looks like a carjack. I wish he had something he could have killed all of y'all with. I wish he did. But again, as I said before, all casually, because it's just a nigga, who cares? Deserve the same treatment that man got for minding his own business by riding to a goddamn neighborhood he probably lived in or visited many times. And he's being harassed because, hey, if we find something, we can justify it and we can paint ourselves as good people. Aggression only respects equal and greater aggression. These motherfuckers aren't stopping because they don't give a goddamn. And we're not even people that bother they stupid ass. White people are the only people that fuck with cops for the most part. If you're black and you're in a situation where you're being treated unreasonably, I hope you have the ability to defend yourself, and I hope you don't hesitate. Everybody involved in trying to cover this up deserves what that young man got, which was murdered for absolutely no reason other than you've been given the green light as a race soldier in uniform. And that's what I spoke about with my teammate. He ignored that with that right. By the way, if you're listening, fuck you sideways. You're not gonna win in a tough field, but you low life motherfuckers will be recognized. Not only are we gonna kill you, after the fact, we're gonna try to rescind it because even though we murdered this man after an illegal stop, nothing happened, but it's just a nigga. Let's just pull him over, rough him up, talk shit. If he squirms a little bit, we say he resisted arrest, laugh about it, then go to schools and elementary schools and shit and talk about what it is to be a good person.
Amerikkka.
Man, you sorry.
I don't like fucking cops.
Jury has found you guilty of being a redneck, white bread, chicken shit motherfucker.
You will be discarded in the prisons of hell.
This is a tough field. This is a tough field. Ooh, it's a tough field. Man, which way do I want to go with this one? That's a tough field, Sluggo. That's a tough field. But I swear I want to give it to everybody. Ooh, this is close. Okay, I'll go with this one. I don't know. Okay. And this seems off, but Jordan Henning and that jury, you didn't win in a tough field because he was convicted and the opportunity was there to give him the proper sentencing. The jury just didn't do it. So to that jury, again, aggression only respects equal and greater aggression. The people that felt sympathy and felt that a cold-blooded murder where he spit on his wife when he was done after standing over her and murdering him and murdering her in a rage in his house, and I have a hard time believing that the race factor had nothing to do with it. But for looking at that as manslaughter, they should go through what that woman's family went through to understand the situation. Again, it seems to me that certain people don't understand unless it happens to them. So when a loved one is taken away from them in a fit of rage and a jury, not empathetic to the situation, looks at it and calls it anything less than murder, it's going to be the only way that they understand. And unfortunately, that's what needs to happen to everybody in that jury that voted essentially to give that man a slap on the wrist for murdering his wife. You didn't win in a tough field, but you will be recognized.
You will be discarded in the prisons of hell.
Jury has found you guilty of being a redneck, white bread, chicken shit motherfucker.
The Cow Award winner this week is Lieutenant Matthew Furman. Not only is he a piece of shit cop and a coward, he's also a lieutenant. He's within the hiring practices. He scoped out and attacked a woman for a minor infraction, yelled out some stupid-ass order, and when she didn't move quick enough, he called for backup as an excuse for procedure so he could tase her. Do you know how much of a piece of shit you have to be to do some shit like that? The problem is that is a large portion of the police in America, and most police would say that behavior is okay because she didn't listen. There are black people that rationalize their trauma, or they're just bitch made, that would agree with that. This is quite simple. It takes very little effort to be human, to be decent. And that was a complete and total overreaction by a racist piece of shit cop that is empowered by the piece of shit people in this country that are just like him. Lieutenant Matthew Furman should no longer be allowed to be a police officer, and he should be changed. He should no longer be a cop, and he should be changed. And then he should watch whoever in his family is a loved one, whatever female is a loved one, go through the same thing. Being stopped for no reason, a minor infraction, and having a bitch ass, no life having cop tase you and drag you out of a car, pretending like they fear for their life. Once again, it's okay to attack a mother, a woman in a car with her child, no threat at all, because she's not moving quick enough for you. But if I'm being attacked by somebody that's saying he's going to attack me or I'm getting jumped on, I can't use my weapon. Again, don't talk to me about bullying. This shit is bullying. Fuck you, fuck your life, fuck who raised you, and fuck every cop that supports you. Lieutenant Matthew Furman, you are the colonizer of the week.
I don't like fucking cops.
Jury has found you guilty of being a redneck, white bread, chicken shit motherfucker.
You will be discarded in the prisons of hell.
17. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the inequities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
Thank you for the sound for the Cowboy Sluggo. I appreciate that. And let me throw one more on top of that.
I don't like fucking cops.
Thank y'all for coming aboard and rolling with me. Truly appreciate it. Remember, next Monday, will be the annual show on religion. I'll give you the details on that coming up. We'll have the annual show on religion. I'll talk to Light Skywalker. I still want him to do the draft show with me. The back and forth on that's been pretty cool. If not, I will look for a replacement if Light Skywalker doesn't want to go back and forth on the draft. But look, man, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate the back and forth. Once again, I think the back and forth for me is therapeutic. So I thank y'all for the therapy. Matter of fact, I didn't say that right. I thank y'all for the back and forth. I consider that back and forth to be therapeutic. So as always, I thank you for the I thank you for the session. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too, JBJ. JBJ saying is looking forward to the draft show. Should be a good one, man. And again, there are a couple little teams on the side like Atlanta. I mean, I think Atlanta's right there. They're not as far away as people think. Washington, who didn't have the best personnel. What are they going to do for Jaden Daniels? I mean, there are a lot of intriguing things that can happen in the draft. There are some trades. There are a lot of teams that were successful and can get better. And there are some other teams that I think have potential, but if they stay with the same quarterback, they're always going to be limited. I'll be honest. You know how I feel about the Raiders. They were my team for years. I threw away my Raider fandom 2 years ago. But I can say that Geno Smith is the first real quarterback they've picked up in a long time. And they just gave him somewhat of a contract. I mean, we'll see if he gets a fair shot. I'm not sure what's about to happen. I mean, but again, the draft. It would be a very Raider thing for them to pick up Geno and draft some overrated person that did nothing, but he's going to be the type that would make the media say, I think he should start. Basically, any white quarterback that underachieved. I could see the Raiders doing that. I mean, but we'll see. We'll see. But it's going to be interesting. And sir, I got you. I wasn't going to go through the whole outro, but I'm going to do that part. As JBJ said, make sure you take a shot for Pop. That part I'm going to do. Then I'm jumping up out of here. But look, man, appreciate y'all. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I will say that Pops taught me to think all I speak, but speak not all I think. Simply put, that means that sometimes you need to shut the fuck up or at least think about what you're about to say and who you're about to say it to. And as always, I take a shot for Pop. R.I.P. DT. Love you, Pop. R.I.P. DT. Mom taught me how to cook when I was younger. I still love to cook to this day. Thank you for that skill set, moms, and speedy recovery. I'll be up there soon enough. I'm gonna pick my date and go up there and kick it with her for a minute. See if I can keep her still for a minute, boy. Just y'all know how the old heads are, but super independent. But you know, appreciate that though. Appreciate that about her. Thank you, moms. Love you. Thank you for that skill set. Still love to cook. Pops, thank you for the advice. And I wish I would have told you how much I appreciated you when you were here, sir. Love you, sir. Hey, appreciate y'all, man. I'm gonna catch y'all next time. We will be back on Monday for the annual Heathen Rally, called by some, annual Show on Religion, 10th annual Show on Religion. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. I'll let you know about the intro and whatnot, but it's gonna be interesting. I'll give y'all some updates later in the week. I'm hoping to have at least one guest, at least one. To a degree, I want to do two, but I don't know how workable that's going to be because of time allotment and the back and forth. So I think staying with one is probably going to be best for the program. But look, man, I appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all next Monday on the annual Show on Religion. Take care and be easy. Appreciate that, JBJ.